Hello, everybody. God bless you, and thank you so very much for joining us. We have a quick study here that we're going to be talking about concerning how to get up to speed quickly. And once again, I'm Scott, and welcome to White Horse Racing. Again, this is a just a very quick kind of a tutorial kind of a thing to help you understand how it is that we get up to speed very quickly. And when we have a track that is coming up that we don't know anything about, and a league race that is happening all in the same week. This week, we race with Sim Racing Alliance. That's SRA, Sim Racing Alliance. And our league race this week is at Zolder. Now, I didn't know anything about Zolder at all, and I had to catch up very quickly in order to even think about becoming competitive at Zolder within my division. So how in the world do we do that within a couple of days before the next week comes to get fairly fast on a track and be able to become competitive consistently? Well, that's what this particular video is going to be about. It's going to be about being consistent on the track, and it's going to be about how in the world it is that we can learn a new track very quickly and be able to become competitive before our next league race. And so if you don't know how to do these things, or maybe you don't have a system that helps you to do these things, we're going to walk you through our system and what helps us. And we would like you to put your comments in the description box below so that you also can share what makes you fast and what gets you up to speed quickly when you have a league race coming on a track that maybe you're not really familiar with. And so, once again, that's what this is all about. So, I have a couple of cards, and when you first start in your sim racing career, I tell you what, these little cards, 2x3 cards or whatever they are, really do come in handy. You know, I have a couple of them here sitting on my sim rig, and one of them is, what to look for and what to make sure that I have checked before every race. It can be something as simple as turning the motor on, turning on the engine, right, in the ignition. You would be surprised how many people forget to turn on the engine at the beginning of a race. You hear everybody else's engine, you think yours is running too. It's not. The lights go green and everybody takes off, and you're stepping on a pedal and you're not going anywhere because you didn't start the car. So there's a lot of little things like that that just kind of go through step by step process, tire pressures, fuel. Make sure your fuel is calculated properly, and all of these kinds of things. Make sure that there's a window open if it's too hot in the room. Make sure that you're comfortable in your seat. Make sure you've done a bathroom check if you're going to be racing for hours, right? So a lot of small things here and you want to have one of these cards sitting by you, and it will keep you out of trouble, and it will keep you faster consistently because you'll get off the line a lot quicker. So I mean that's what these are about. So you'll see me waving these around quite often. But this particular card has to do with steps that I take to make me consistently quicker on the track, to get used to the track and to get up to speed quickly. Now, when I first started on Zolder, I was pulling about a 129, 120, or 139, 138, right? Thought that was pretty quick. And come to find out that that was really not quick at all. And that is something that is always very deceptive. You know, when we get out on a track and we start thinking that, we are quicker than what we really are, that's very detrimental to us, when it comes to actually getting in a race with real live competitors. And so the very first thing that I will do is I will go to SRA, which is Sim Racing Alliance, right? And I will take a look at their standings boards and their hot stint records so that I know right about where I should be concerning my lap times if I want to be competitive. Okay, so I'd like to take you over there very quickly. Let's go over there very quickly. I want to take you over to simracingalliance.com. This is simracingalliance.com. Okay, now if you go here and you go under leaderboards, right here under leaderboards, you can go to hot stint, and it'll take you to hot stint, and you can type in the track that you want there. Of course, I have typed in Zolder, and it'll take you here, and it'll show you all of the different divisions, and it'll give you down here along the bottom what is an acceptable lap time for that particular division. And so, of course, you can unselect all of these, so you can select them all. If you select them all, it'll show you the lap times for for Division 1 all the way down to Division 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? But we don't want all that because we're in Division 6, okay? So what we want to do is we want to unselect all of these, and we just want to select Division 6. I want to know where I need to be in Division 6 to be competitive for my particular division, okay? Now, we've got a wide range of lap times here. You can see average lap time is 131.268 for Alex Daniel. So, and he's at number 1, okay? And he's a gold driver. Now, here at SRA, we have division split. So you have the silver drivers, you have the gold drivers. I'm a gold driver, so I'm concerned with these gold drivers and what they're going to be doing. So, as you can see here, I can get an idea of where my lap times should be. And they range anywhere from 136 to 131. That's right about where I should be with my lap times if I want to consistently be competitive. Now, why is it important to know this? Well, it's important to know this because these are the guys you're going to be driving against. These are human competitors in the division that you're in, right? And so this is where you want to be at least. Now, if we go up and I select all of these, okay, and we go back and we take a look at Division 1, well, now you're looking at a 128. You're looking at the one in the upper 20s. So that's where the ultimate, where what we call the aliens would be. And so that is achievable. We know that it is because human beings are doing that, right? And so with the proper car setup, with the proper braking points, with all of that under your belt, with the proper ideal racing line under your belt, knowing all of these things, it is humanly possible to get a 128.493. And again, Diego Paul, he has already proven that to us right here, right? So again, but we're going to be racing with Division 6, and today, because I am a new driver, I'm a new sim driver, right? Like a lot of you are. I want to be concerned with staying within this realm here, at least getting between a 131 and a 136. Now, when I first began and I first started on Zolder, when I went around the lap and when I run around the track and I looked at my lap times, I was getting like a 139, 138, and I thought, well, that's pretty good, right? No, not at all. Not when you go take a look at the standings that are here and the people that you're going to be competing against. So, again, this sets the stage for us. This is why I do this first, because it sets the stage for me. It sets goals for me. That's my goal. I know I have to beat that. Now, over the weekend, I have been racing a couple of hours and looking and going through these steps right here, and I've gotten down to about a 133. I think it was a 133.3, 132.8. I've gotten down to a 132.8. So that's pretty respectable and makes me fairly competitive within this division. So how did I do that? How did I go from a 139, 138 down to a 132 in such a quick amount of time? Again, it's right here, and this is what I'm sharing with you. So once again, these goals are immensely important for you to set for yourself. You need to get between a 131 and a 136 if you're going to be competitive in this particular race. So that's the first thing that we want to do. We want to take a look at the statistics. We want to take a look at the lap times that our division is doing because these are the guys that we're going to be racing with. Okay. The next thing that I want to do then from here is I actually want to go and I want to drive the track. Okay, and I just want to I don't want to race the track. I don't want to try and set any times on the track. I just want to Sunday drive the track. I call it Sunday driving. I'm going to go out for a Sunday drive on the track, and I'm just going to get comfortable with it. I just want to know where the chicanes are, where are the apexes, where is the ideal racing line supposed to be. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the ideal racing line. You're going to need to know that as a driver. Again, if you don't already know these things. Very, very important. If you do not know the ideal racing line, you're not going to be able to get around the track in sufficient time. So in order to lower your lap time, you must know the ideal racing line. Now, the simulator has built into it an ideal racing line. But we do not want to jump right into doing the ideal racing line right now. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we're driving the track comfortably, just Sunday driving it, taking a look at the track, where the chicanes are, how they're laid out, what the angle of attack is going to be, how can I set myself up for a slower entry but a faster exit, and why do I want to do that at this particular chicane? And Zolder is tremendous for that because there are many chicanes at Zolder. For those of you who have driven Zolder before, you know that there are several different chicanes there, and they're all a little bit different. They have a little bit different characteristics, and they're set just a little bit differently, at different angles, different degrees, different things you need to do getting into that chicane and then coming back out of that chicane for a quick exit. And something else that I would like to mention is that we are always looking for the quick exit. A lot of guys want to come in and they would just want to hit the gas and they want to hit that chicane as fast as they possibly can, which is good. But again, you want to be concerned with hitting that chicane at a certain degree so that you can come out of that chicane quickly, so that your exit is fast. And so a lot of times you'll hear drivers talking about slow in, fast out, slow in, fast out. That's what they're talking about: apexes, chicanes, corners, turns, elbows, hairpins, things like that. Slow in, fast out. Okay, so again, we want to pay attention to that. How do we do that? And the only way that you can do that is to drive the track comfortably. Just drive it on like a Sunday drive. Get to know the track. And you want to go around between 5 to 10 laps because you really want to know about that track, what to expect. If you get on that track and you've never raced it before with a bunch of competitors, no matter what division you're in, and you just start driving that, you're not going to be as fast as you would be if you knew what was coming up. Okay, so we want to know what's coming up. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to drive the track, and we just want to do that very comfortably, and we want to do that almost in a Sunday drive kind of manner. And we want to get used to the track. We want to know exactly what the track is all about. So without any further ado, we're going to do that. We're going to go drive around Zolder here, and as we drive around Zolder, we are going to just make mention of some things. We're going to take some notes here on the track. So let's do that. We're going to go over to the simulator now. We're going to jump into Zolder. Again, we're in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Again, a great simulator. If you don't know anything about this, this is the simulator that we use for most of our races at SRA, Sim Racing Alliance. And so this is a simulator that you want to be very familiar with once you join the league. And so, again, let's go ahead and start this. I have this set up for Zolder, and I have it set up for practice, and this is going to allow us to just practice, and that's all we're going to do. We're just going to practice. And I just want to drive around this track, and I want to know where things are. So I'm going to go in here very quickly. And when you do a setup, a lot of people will ask me, do you buy setups? Do you believe in buying setups? We'll talk about that a little bit later. Yes and no is the answer to that question. Kind of an oxymoron there. I do believe in them in the beginning, but there's a reason, and you need to be very careful before you even think about purchasing a setup, if you're going to buy a setup. Personally, myself, I have come to the point to where I really want to set the setup myself. I really want to learn more about the car. I really want to know what makes it fast. I really want to understand the car. You can't do that if you're just buying setups and you're just popping in a store-bought setup. You're never going to really truly understand the car. You're never really truly going to understand what makes that car fast, how to set the camber, how to set the TC, how to set the ABS, how to do these things. And so again, it's very important that you do that. Now, what you can do is you can go in here, and I've already done this, but what I have found is the best for me is to go into the setup, and when you go setup here, you're going to have a choice here. You have safe preset, you got wet setup, you got aggressive setup, and you got current setup. Now, in the beginning, if you're having a hard time getting around the track, you might want to move back to the safe preset, okay? But I like to go to the aggressive preset setup because I know this is for competition. And that's what I'm into, is competition, right? So I need to go to the aggressive preset setup, okay? Now, I have already done that, and I've already been in there, and I've already made some changes to the car. We're going to talk about those in just a moment. So what I'm going to do here today is I'm just going to go over here very quickly. I'm going to load this test setup. I renamed the setup, and I called it test. And this is basically, it is an aggressive setup with a couple of changes. I changed the TC, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. Let me get in here and show you what I changed. Here with the tires, tire pressures are very, very important. We'll talk about those a little bit later. Electronics, though, is what I wanted. Now, for this particular track, I found that for me, and it might be different for you. So again, it's not really fair to copy all of these. You can try them and see if they fit you. But for me, the TC at 7 and the TC2 at 4 fit me the best. I don't like a lot of ABS and for my particular style of driving, so I backed that off. I think it was originally 4 in the aggressive. I backed that off. There's a lot of sausages there and during those chicanes, so my car has to be able to handle those sausages a little bit better. So what I did is I went over to the mechanical grip and I changed the bump stop and I changed the bump stop range, and I really jacked them up there pretty good because I'm going to be hitting some pretty stiff sausages at a pretty high speed. Okay, these are all things that I learned after driving the track on a Sunday drive, and after I started speeding up and I started realizing, hey, I can cut this corner at the chicane and not get penalized. I can go off the shoulder a little bit here and not get penalized. All of these things makes me a little bit faster, right? So once I realized what my car needed to do in order to get me there and get me there quickly, I can come back in here and I can adjust these things. What's a bump stop range? Well, it just helps the wheels to go and not to hit the bottom of the bump stop. When your tire hits a bump, it comes up and it hits a bump stop. You can raise that bump stop so you can give your tire more play, right? And so that way when you go around corners and there's sausages there, or there's in a chicane there's a lump there, or a concave curb, you can get over that a little bit more quickly without damaging the car and without unsettling the car going around that chicane. These are all things that you learn as time goes by. Okay, so again, I don't want to get into a big thing about setups. I'm certainly not a setup master, but these are just things that I've learned. A couple of things that I did change. So I changed the bump stop a little bit. I changed up the camber a little bit. I put the TC to where I like it. I turned that ABS down a little bit. And for me, that seemed to be pretty good. And I seem to get pretty good lap times with that. But I didn't know that until I started driving the track. So let's go back. I don't want to put the horse before the cart. So let's go back, set yourself up with the aggressive setup, and then just drive the track. So let's do that. We're going to go back here very quickly, and we are here. We're going to go to drive the track. So here we are, and we're at Zolder. Go, 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 go. Okay. So the first thing you want to do, again, is start the engine. Now, you can have the simulator start the engine for you. I don't like that because, again, it takes away from the realism of what we're doing. And so I like to make sure that I've hit the ignition and started the vehicle myself. I know exactly where I'm at. I know that it's ready to go, and I am now ready to drive. So here we go. I'm going to put it in first gear. We're going to go out, and I'm just going to drive the track. And that's all we're going to do. We're just going to kind of drive the track. And right away I noticed coming out of this pit lane, this is a little tricky getting out of here. And when I get to the end of the pit lane, I also noticed that there is a very sharp turn to the right. And here's the white line. You don't ever want to go outside of that white line. And then you're finally on the track and you're ready to go. Now here I can see I'm going to go a little wide. And I've got this big, long, concave apex here. So I can get around that fairly easy. And here's another one, and I'm just kind of noticing this is a nice smooth apex. It's not very sharp, okay? So I'm noticing that as I go along. I'm driving along and I'm thinking, okay, well, what's next? Well, what's next is this chicane that's coming up. Kind of a tricky spot. So we have to kind of slow down in order to get through the chicane. Now, it's pretty sharp, but there's a lot of runoff here. So we can make note of that. A lot of runoff there at that very first chicane. And then as we come around here, we see a nice broad bend, nice broad apex here. Easy to get around, but what happens? We have this really offset chicane here, and it is really an offset kind of a deal, and it's almost like a triple chicane, because you have to come back. So I am watching this, and the whole time I'm doing this and I'm driving along, I'm thinking, okay, where should my ideal line be? Where should my ideal race line be? where do I want to place the car on the track for a maybe a little bit slower entry, but that will get me a quick exit. Here's a nice hairpin right here. Again, you want to use the whole track from shoulder to shoulder. And then you come through here. Nice, easy little chicane right there. Just kind of like a baby chicane, if you will. We come down the road a little bit more. We go up under this overpass. And what do we hit? Another chicane. Again, notice the sausages here and the sausages on that side. If we hit those, we'll unsettle the car. Again, they give us plenty of runoff room over here. Very nice. And so we're just kind of driving around and we're just making mention of what the track layout is. Where we come down here, we're across the finish line, and what do we have? We have this a little bit of a sharp apex right here. And then we have a little bit wider, almost a hairpin type of thing. We got to make sure that we're wide for that. We use the whole road and we come around. And I'm trying to drive smoothly. Now, there is something to be said for driving smoothly. You want to drive the track smoothly. You don't want to be jerking around all over the place. So you want to position the car to where you can pick up a little bit of speed. I'm going to go a little bit faster than I went around the last time. But I want to drive smoothly. I don't want to be choppy with the wheel. I don't want to be, nervous about it. Again, here I know I have this chicane. I'm going to go nice and smooth. I'm going to use the whole road to get out of that apex. And I know I've got this corner coming, so I'm going to set myself up for that. Come into the inside. Now I know I've got this chicane up here. I'm not really sure how to approach that. So do I approach it wide and then come in, or do I approach it narrow? We're going to have to find that out by driving the track enough times to see how that all shakes out. And so here again, we've got a little bit of a wide apex for us. Nothing terrible, but it is a little tricky when you get up to speed. And so again, I'm going a little bit faster this time because I know a little bit about I know this hairpin is here. I know I want to go shoulder to shoulder to get the most speed, carry the most speed around that apex. And I'm coming on, and then I'll start speeding up a little bit more. I know I have another apex under here, so I'm going to get down there real quick. And I'm starting to notice what gear I need to kind of be in order to properly negotiate that apex. What gear do I want to be in for that particular apex? For that one, it was gear 1 for me. I want to be in 1. So here I can boot it all the way down. I've got this apex right here. Now, right here is really touchy. So I'm in third gear coming around here. I want to come down smooth. I know I got another apex, so I'm going to go to the left of the road so I can use the whole road. I want to almost touch those 3 green sections there. And I just want to keep this nice and easy, nice and smooth. And then right here, again, I have a nice wide apex. How fast can I take this? And it looks like I can take this much faster than I originally thought. So I go a little bit faster around there, and I realize, okay, I can pick up some speed there. And again, we're just making notes of how long it takes to get around this track. Now, again, right there, I came in too hot. Why did that happen? It happened because I didn't have a braking marker, which is something that I want to talk to you about as well, a braking marker. Do you need braking markers? What are braking markers? Well, braking markers are little nuances that are around the track. It might be a marker on the wall. It might be where a curb starts. It could be anything that tells you in your mind that you want to start braking here. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you where my braking marker is for that corner so that doesn't happen again when we come back around. Braking markers are extremely important. Why? Because if you don't have braking markers, don't discard braking markers, my friends, because if you don't have braking markers and you're just driving by the seat of your pants and you're just braking whenever you feel like braking, that's going to change every lap that you make. It's going to change. If you're going a little bit faster, excuse me, you may not decide to brake at the same point, which equates to inconsistency. Consistency is extremely important on a racetrack. Okay, if you're in a race, you want to be consistent. In other words, you want to be consistently on the track without doing what we just did, going off track, or or going so far off track that it's a penalty and you get penalized for it. On some tracks, you can use the whole shoulder of the road and you won't get penalized. On other tracks, if you use a little bit of the shoulder of the road, they'll penalize you for that. And so that's another thing that this test drive is kind of letting us know. How much of the shoulder can we use without being penalized? So back to braking points. If you are using braking points and you are braking at the same point consistently, your drive around that track will be more consistent, which means that while the other guy might be really fast, but he's driving by the seat of his pants, maybe he's not using braking points and he's just driving by feel. If you drive by feel, that's going to change lap to lap, and that's why the guys that are really fast can't stay consistent on the track. So I might have a really good lap time, but if I can't stay on the track and I'm spinning out like I just did there, or having to go over an apex and get disqualified for that lap, right? I'm not going to be able to win races because I'm not driving consistently. Consistency on the track, being able to keep your car on the track, 9 times out of 10 is going to give you at least, it puts you in the top 10. If not, sometimes even podium. Not because you have a tremendously quick lap time, but because you're consistent and you are able to stay on the track without messing up, without making errors. You're able to drive very smoothly around the track, and you're able to stay on the track. That is going to help you to win, or to at least get the placement that you want, at least up in the top 10. Again, if not podium in many races. And I see a lot of guys that are only interested in lap time, but they have no consistency. And they got great lap times on one lap, but on the next lap they're spinning out and everybody's passing them. And so the guys that could be winning the race, because they have no consistency, are failing, and they're failing badly. And I see it all the time. So consistency is something that we want to make sure that we build into our racecraft. And if you use braking markers and you are consistently braking at each and every apex in the same place every time, the chances of you spinning out or getting disqualified because you've gone too far off track are going to be minimized. Okay, so that's why braking points are so vitally important. Okay, so let's continue. We're going to continue our drive here, and I want to make sure that we're on the right screen here. Hold on here just a second, and I'll make sure that we get back over there yeah, here we go. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on. So here we go. Now, again, we're going around a nice, easy curve here. Now, right here, right about there, I will start to brake right about here. And just as I brake that curve, I'm already starting to brake, because I know that this is very important for me not to scream through like I just did at the other apex. So I want to hit this nice and easy. I want to use a little bit of the shoulder there. I can get up over a little bit of the shoulder here and still keep 2 wheels on the cement without getting a penalty. Same thing here. I can ride this. I can hit it full gas right here. I can come right up to the edge there, and I can come around here. Again, I use everything that I can here because I've got this little bit of a turn here. I've got a little bit of extra room here if I need it, but I want to be flooring it right through here. And then I can continue on. Now, another braking point for me is once I get up to just about this, I see that 100 marker right there. That's my braking point for this particular turn. And you really have to start braking sooner than you think on this turn, because if you don't start slowing down, and I don't slow down all at once, I want to go through the gears and downshift, downshift, downshift until I get to 1, and then take this wide, and that helps me carry as much speed as I possibly can through that particular hairpin. Again, here I'm just going to open it up wide. I'm going to go down here as far as I can, usually getting it into about 4th gear. And then I start the downshift process, because when I hit this, notice those sausages on the left side of the curb right here. You want to try not to hit those unless your camber is set up on your car properly. Now, again, this is something that very few drivers know, especially young drivers know. If I get an aggressive setup and I just hit those sausages, it's going to unsettle my car and throw my car all over the track, and I'm going to spin out here at this chicane. But if I set that bump stop rate that we just talked about in the setup, if I set that bump stop rate and I give myself a little more bump stop, right, I can get over these and I can cut this corner a lot more without unsettling my car, which gives me a little bit of time. And the same thing over here, I try not to hit those, but I do stay on the red and the white. Now look at how I've cut all that extra track out by being able to do that. I've cut out a couple of tenths of a second being able to do that. And so again, these things come from kind of granny driving, if you will, around the track. And so again, here we can boot it all the way down the track. We don't have anything to worry about here until we get right about up to here. Now right here, when you see a little bit before this bridge, just a little bit before the bridge that you saw there, I want to start getting on the brakes, because this particular turn right here is more sneaky than you think it is. It's more of an apex than it looks like. You see all this road and you think, I got plenty of room. Not quite so. You'll be surprised coming around this. It does give you a little bit of runoff here. You can use this again, and then I get back on the gas again, and I know I've got another apex coming, so I want to set myself up again for a quick exit. So I'm going to come right down here. I'm going to downshift into, now see these green markers here on this side here. I want to almost really touch those. Ideally, I want to have one wheel right up alongside of that. That's going to position my car right where I want it. And again, I don't even have to use this runoff if I do it properly. And again, I want to just rub this apex here, and that's going to set me up for out here. I want to get as wide as I can because I have another apex coming out, right? So right about here, I'm going to downshift, and usually when I'm going very quickly, I'll downshift into third gear, and I'll hit this apex at full bore. I will be on full pedal coming around this particular apex. And then I will go ahead and boot it down the road. And again, you'll see a 100 marker up here on the right side. That's my braking marker for this. Again, when you're going full speed, you really got to start braking a little bit earlier. Now, you might brake a little bit after that 100 marker, depending on how your brakes are set up or whatnot. But I want to be down into first gear, and I want to get around this bump. This bump I can take. My car can handle this, so I can run over that bump and not really unsettle my car. I'm not worried about the second bump as much as I am that first apex corner of the chicane. Okay? And then I'm on it again, and I am just I'm going to boot it all the way up here just when I get around this corner, right about here, after that sign, I'm going to start braking, because I know this is dangerous chicane coming up here, and it'll sneak up on you pretty quick. I want to take as much of that off the corner as I can, and I'm just this triple chicane, and I want to stay on the borders there. I want to full bore right through here, full bore, pedal to the metal, all the way to the floor, coming up and around here, and then very carefully, gently bring her back to the left, right about that 100 marker right there, start hitting the down speed. I want to download, I want to downshift, and I want to come across this, and I want to go shoulder to shoulder, way out there, use the whole road, and I want to come through. That's how I'm getting down to 132, okay? So again, this is all done by kind of critiquing the road a little bit, by going through it very slowly, knowing where your fast parts are, where your fast parts are not, okay? And again, we're going to come through here. Again, I can take those sausages if I want to, because I know that I've got my bump stop set up properly on my car. Now, I want to stop here for just a moment, because I want to add a couple of things here for just a moment. As you're driving around the track, if you're spinning out on the corners, turn your TC down. Turn your TC down, and you can do that several different ways. You can go to in-game to do it. You can set up the buttons on your steering wheel to do it. I have set up my steering wheel to be able to do that, so if I wanted to set my TC, all I have to do is go down here, and I can set my TC to whatever I want. I got 7, 8, 2, 1, whatever I want. I like the first one at 7, and I like the second TC, the cut of the TC, to be a little bit lower, down at 4. For me on this particular track. Now, it's not the same way at Imola, but it is here at Zolder. You know, I changed it up a little bit from one track to another. And so you get a little bit better at doing this. With each track that you do, with each track that you critique, you start realizing, how much of a lead foot you have in your right foot. You need to train your foot not to cause that TC to be working. The idea is to keep a low of a TC as you possibly can without spinning out. But if you're going around corners and you're spinning out because your right foot's too much of a lead foot, you need to learn a little bit about how to keep that right foot off of the accelerator and not do so much throttle input when you're coming out of a corner too soon. You got to make sure that the wheels are straight before you can really get on that throttle. If you're still in a turn, the last thing you want to do is gun it, because you're just going to throw your rear end around, and that's going to cause you to spin out. TC will assist you in helping you to do that. But again, I urge you to use the TC as a learning tool. I'm constantly trying to learn. I'm trying to turn my TC down all the time. And I'm watching. You'll notice that the TC will flicker blue when you are too much on the pedal. You don't want that. You want to make sure that your inputs are nice and smooth so that you can turn that TC down. You train that right foot how to come out of that corner. But for right now, for me, TC7 and TC4 suits me properly. So that's what I use. Now you're going to have to learn what your TC ratings are, what is best for your driving characteristics. And so my driving characteristics may be a little different than you. I may see things a little bit differently than you do. Maybe I'm not accelerating as much as you are. Maybe the opposite. So it's going to be different for you. But again, as I'm going around this track, I'm picking up speed a little bit more, and I'll do this about 10 times. Okay? Then, when I think I've got a pretty acceptable lap time, right, then I will turn on the ideal line. So how do you do that? Well, it's very simple. All you have to do is go out of the game here, go to options. Okay, you're going to go to options, you're going to go to assists, and right here it says ideal line. You want to turn that on to make it visible. And you're going to go to confirm, and you're going to go back. Now, when you go to the track, you're going to have this green line that's going to be on the track, and it's going to be what they call the ideal line. Now, you should probably already have, at this point, a good concept of where that line's going to be, because you've done the track, you've done about 5-10 laps, you've sped up each and every time, you've made points of where you think your braking markers are going to be, you've set the car to TC up to where you think it ought to be, maybe even the ABS to get the car to maybe feel a little bit more comfortable for you. And so you've gone through that process. So now when you turn on the ideal line, you can see whether or not it speeds you up. And I urge you, before you turn the ideal line on, take some lap times. Write them down on a piece of paper. Write them down on your lap times without the ideal line. Okay? And then turn on the ideal line, race it the best you can on the ideal line, and see if your lap times pick up. If your lap times pick up, then the ideal line is helping to teach you something. So drive with that ideal line for another 10 laps until you learn exactly where you ought to be concerning the ideal line. And I want to say this, the ideal line that the simulator gives you is not always the perfect ideal line for your style of driving, but it will get you to that perfect place. Okay, so once you drive the ideal line, if you find out that you are picking up speed, then you want to stick more to the ideal line. And as you continue to drive the next 10 laps, you might realize that the ideal line maybe is a little bit too far left just by a couple of inches. If I shave off a couple of inches of that ideal line, I can get a better lap time, right? But the ideal lap time will help you to start up. Again, we're beginning drivers. We've never been on this track before. We don't know anything. And why not use all the tools that are available to us? I know guys that race with the ideal line. I do not suggest that. Because then you're not learning anything. All you're doing is following a line. You're not learning anything. You're not understanding. You're not feeling the track. You're not understanding what's going on. So it's not a good idea to race with the ideal line. Practice, yes, with the ideal line, but then turn it off as quickly as you can. Get rid of it again. We're going to talk about that during our next step. So very quickly here, I just want to drive the ideal line so that you can see what I'm talking about when I say ideal line. Notice here that there is a green line on the track. Now watch, when I get up here, it's green right now, and it's telling me where to go. When I get down here, it's going to turn red. If I'm coming around here too fast, it'll start turning red. Now it didn't turn red there because I wasn't going very fast. But if I speed up and I get down here and I'm going around this, notice how it goes yellow. It went yellow there. It's telling me I'm going too fast. So it'll start turning colors if you are going too fast. So I just follow this ideal line around. See how it's yellow? That means slow down. I'm going to speed up here because I know I can speed up. Use the whole track, come down around, it's still staying green. That means I can be hot all through here. And again, notice what happens here. It goes red. That means I need to start slowing down here. Follow that ideal line all the way around the track. And it really does give you a very good idea of how to get the car around the track very quickly. Notice it swings wide here, and it turns red. It means you need to slow down, right? And then you follow the line all the way around. And so I think you get the idea. I'm not going to do too much of this because there's no point in doing too much of that. But you see how the ideal line works. It is a wonderful tool to get you to understand how to get the car around the track quicker. But the bigger thing to learn here is not just how to stay on the green line, is why the ideal line is the way the ideal line is. Why did they make it this way? Why does it swing wide here? Why does it go in narrow there? It's the why that will make you smarter. The why. Why is the ideal line like it is? Once you understand why it's that way and the momentum of the car, you start feeling those things. You can turn the ideal line off because you know why you're supposed to be where you are supposed to be. And so, once again, this is vitally, vitally important, okay? So these are all steps that I use to very quickly, within a few hours, get myself from a 138, 139 down to a 132, 133, okay? And get myself to the point to where I'm at least competitive for that race, that league race that's coming up. Again, it's a system, and again, it has to do with consistency. It has to do with braking markers. It has to do with feeling the road, knowing and understanding where your ideal line is. Something else that's very important for it to understand concerning the ideal line is that oftentimes, if you are in a league race, you might be ahead of someone else. But if you turn into their driving line, even though they hit you, you are responsible, because you turned into their driving line. So if you don't know what a ideal driving line is, the stewards are going to look at that and they're going to say, well, look, this guy was driving the driving line, this guy turned in front of him, it's his fault, right? You're going to think because I got hit from the rear, it's not my fault, it's his fault, right? Nope, it's your fault because you were not paying attention to your rear view. You should have known that guy was there. You turned right into his driving line, and of course, he was going full speed. He had no idea what you were going to do. You were going to turn in front of him, right? And you turned in front of him and took his ideal line. So the stewards could technically say that it's your fault. So again, it's important to understand ideal driving line and what the ideal driving line of a driver is, okay? And for many, many reasons. That's just one very important reason why you need to understand why an ideal line is so vitally important. The stewards will look at that, and you could get penalized for that. And so, again, these are all things that we do. So I want to go back over these again. The first thing I want to do is I want to go to my division, and I want to look at my lap times, right? So I go to SRA and I look at the leaderboard and I see what the best lap times are for my division. I know right about where I need to be. The second thing that I do then is I drive the track. Again, I make mention and I drive it very slowly and methodically, and I kind of look at where I think that ideal driving line ought to be. I learn where the chicanes are, where the apexes are. Then I speed up the third or fourth lap or the fifth lap. And I speed up a little bit more, and I start getting a flowing feel. I keep a flowing feel, nothing jerky, nothing too erratic. I want it to flow as much as comfortably as I can get it to flow. And I start learning where my braking points are at this point in time, because now I'm starting to get up to speed, right? So I start making notes of the braking points. My TC is my traction control set properly for me to get around this corner as quickly as I can. Bump stops, different things like that. ABS, my stopping is my brakes screeching when I hit the brakes. Maybe I need a little bit more ABS. Okay, so different things like that. That helps me kind of set myself up, kind of set the car up, gives me an idea where I think the ideal line should be. Then I turn on the ideal line. Okay, once I've made a note of how fast I can get around the track by myself, I make a note of that lap time. Then I'll turn on the ideal line, and I'll drive it with the ideal line and see if my lap times improve or not. And I will learn, and I will allow the ideal line of the simulator to teach me where I need to be, and if I have the ideal line properly figured out or not. At that point in time, then from here, what I will do is I will go race the sim. I will race the AI, the artificial intelligence, in the sim with other drivers. They won't be human drivers. They'll just be drivers that are part of the simulator, right? But I will set that the AI to a point that they are better than me. You never want to set the AI to where you're winning races consistently. If your AI is set to where you're winning races consistently, you're not going to learn anything. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to a race, and I'm going to set up the AI so that it's faster than me. Now, right now, I think I have it at 95% on this particular track. That's a little faster than what I am on this particular track. And I know that because I've raced it a couple of different times. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to quit this, and I'm going to say confirm, get out of here, and I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to change this from practice to race. Now that I know a little bit, and I'm starting to pick up a little bit, I'm going to go back here, practice, and I'm going to go to race. Hot lap, and I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to go to hot stint, and I'm going to go to quick race. There we go, quick race. Now, right here, opponent skill, I have it 90. Now, opponent count at 29, opponent aggressiveness 80. Okay, so that's where I've got it right now. I think I had it up at 95 at the other track. Here I think I have 90 because, again, I'm brand new, don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to feel this out. That's still faster than what I am. Okay, and now once I start winning races with this opponent skill set at 90, I'm going to move it up to 95 because I don't want to keep winning races against the AI. Why is that? Because if I'm winning races with the AI, I'm not learning my racecraft. I'm not learning where I can overtake. I'm not learning where to not overtake. I'm not learning how the AI will make you faster. Now, what do I mean by how the AI will make me faster? If you are following a faster car than you, there's always something to be learned. Whether it's AI or a real driver, makes no difference. If that AI is cutting that corner in order to get a better lap time, that means you can cut that corner to get a better lap time. If he is keeping full throttle all the way around an apex, that means you can keep full throttle. You just have to figure out how to do it and how he's doing. Is he trail braking? Is he lightly feathering the gas while he's going around that corner? Is he cruising, trolling through that corner, coasting through that corner? Again, but you'll see if you watch the faster cars, they will teach you tips and tricks on the track to make you faster. If you never drive the AI, you never drive anybody that's faster than you, you're not going to know where those extra tenths of a second are found on the track. So I always turn the AI up higher than what I am. New track, at least 90. Get it up there around 90. Yours might be higher than that, might be lower than that. Aggressiveness, I keep the aggressiveness down because I don't want to get knocked off a track. I'm trying to learn here. I'm not trying to really race here. This is a learning experience for me. So I want that aggressiveness way down, way down. I want a little bit there. I don't want to turn it to 0, but I want it way down because I want the opportunity to learn. And if I'm getting knocked off the track every 2 seconds and I don't get to see what the lead car is doing, I'm not learning anything, right? So those are the settings that I used for this particular track. So I'm going to confirm that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the session, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to race, okay? And as we race, I want you to really pay attention to what it is that we're learning here and what we can learn here. So again, if I've done my due diligence up to this point, I've already set myself up a test setup. So I'm going to load my test setup, right? and I'm going to come back down here because I've arranged my TC and I've fixed all those things. You want to go back and save that setup. Okay, now I let the AI decide where to put me. I don't qualify for these races. Why? Because I'm going to, you never know during a qualification where you're going to be in the race. So when you take off like this week, when I take off in Zolder, I might be 13th. I might be 5th. I might be 20th, depending on how my qualification went. And we only have 10 minutes to qualify. And so that's a very short amount of time. Anything can happen. You know, you go off the road once or you get disqualified once, you've really blown your qualification. And so, again, I never know where I'm going to be. So I let the AI decide. And the 13th is good for me because now I have to battle traffic. I've got to figure out how to get up through that grid. And so I like that. I like that. Again, this is for learning purposes. I'm not here to win the race necessarily. I'm here to learn. That's my primary objective here. Okay, so I'm going to start the race. Here we go. And we're going to start the race.
Stay double five.
And I have my boots on instead of my driving shoes, which is a little bit different. Here you can see everything, where everything is set. I'm going to go back here so I can find out where I'm at. We have a little bit, I think it's like a quarter lap before we actually get started here. This is something else that I might make mention of. Is the first lap that you drive, nobody wins a race in the first lap. And so whatever you do on the first lap, you know, your tires are cold, your brakes are cold, you're not going to get anywhere in the first lap. Warm your car up.
Go.
So we want to go fast here, but I'm not trying to get up ahead. I'm just going to drive through this. I know where my apexes are and what's going on there. Hold on here just a second. I want to turn. By this point in time, you don't want that ideal line to be on. So let's go back here very quickly. I want to turn that off. Options, I want to go to assist, and I want that to be gone. I don't want that off. At this point in time, by the time you race the AI, you should know where you belong. And again, this is kind of a practice session for you to learn, right? So again, here we go. Okay, so first lap around, I'm not really concerned with gaining places necessarily. I'm watching the other cars and I'm see how nice and wide and smooth they take that. I'm going to watch this here. I'm coming up around here. Now notice these guys are kind of slow around here. I think I can take that a little bit quicker. But again, on this first lap, I'm still learning. Everybody's tires are still cold and nobody's going full speed right now. Going around here, making sure I get through that chicane okay. Following the guys through, and I'm watching. What are they doing? I'm noticing here they're all going wide up here. Nobody's going in short. Well, the guy in the black car is. And he seems to be making it through there, so that's something else to make note of. So we're going to go up here, use the whole road. Down here again, we're going to boot it down through there. Nice and smooth around the apex. Right there is our 100 marker. We're going to start braking and downshifting. And taking the whole road, use the whole road, the whole width from shoulder to shoulder. And now we can start getting on it. And now the race starts heating up. Now we're going on, going on the second lap. People are going to start picking up a little bit. Again, I know I can go over those sausages there if I want to. I didn't do it that time because, again, first lap. But we're coming up on the second lap. The finish line is right down here. We're actually right now we're on our second lap. So I'm coming down through here a little hotter, and I want to get through there as hot as I possibly can to see what I said about that being a trickier turn than it looks like. And here I want to go down into second gear. I want to get real close. I wanted to get closer to that curve than I did. Went too far out. Again, still learning. Coming across here, I'm going to downshift into third, and I'm going to really boot it through here. That helps me catch up because the other guys aren't doing that. Now I have a choice. I can ride this guy's bumper up to that chicane, but I know that chicane's coming. And it's probably not a good idea for me to pass at this chicane, so I'm not going to try and do that. Again, while I'm racing, I'm looking for opportunities here. You know, where could you possibly pass somebody on this track? Here we are, we're taking over as best we can. We're turning early, using the whole road, coming up. Making sure that we're able to get that road right on their bumper now. Coming down around the corner here. here. We're starting to warm the tires up. Things are starting to feel good. Starting to get comfortable with the track.
You're on the right.
Be careful. There's somebody behind us nudging us off the road. See, these are all things that I am learning as I'm driving here. Now, I'm not trying to win. But because the AI is set a little bit higher, it helps me to see what they're doing. What are they doing? Where are they cutting that I am not cutting? Here we go. We got a guy coming up on the left side. Leave him a little bit of room. This is all part of racecraft here. Again, I hit that curve, unsettled the car. That taught me right there that I cannot hit that curb. If I hit that curb, I'm going to unsettle the car, so I can't do that. We'll start her back up here again. But at any rate, I think I'll stop right here because they're so far ahead of me, it's probably redundant now. But again, I've learned something every time I go around this track and every time I race the AI. Again, I just learned something new there that I did not know in the past. You can't hit that and try to get up over that curb right there at that particular apex because it will unsettle the car, even though your camber and everything is set up to the best of your ability. So once again, what did we do? We learned quite a bit just from going through this with the AI. The artificial intelligence has taught us some things already. And if I were to continue on, of course, I would go back, restart the race again, go over it again, try to keep up a little bit better, get better lap times. And this is what it's all about. So again, this is what got me down to a 132 going around this track. And I can do 133 now, almost really consistency once everything gets warmed up and once I'm able to continue to go around the track. And I know that I can do that. Now it's just the idea of practicing it over and over and over again so that I can keep the consistency. And that's important. Once you've gone through everything, once you know what you can do and what you cannot do, you're not going to make mistakes like that last mistake coming around that curb because you know you can't take that. Don't do that. You can't take that. It will not allow the car to go up over that curb and come back down without unsettling the car. So we know not to do that. So again, all of this is learned, and I had gone from a 138, 139 down to a 132, 133 lap time by taking note of these things. Now, for me, my biggest thing is consistency now. Now, I need to be able to stay on the track, consistency at that lap time. How do you do that? Again, that's just running the track over and over and over and over again. There's no other, it's like they say, practice makes perfect. So again, for me, it's running that track as many times as I can possibly run it before the actual league race comes on Wednesday, right? So I'm going to be trying to do that in my off time when I have time. I'm going to be sitting in my simulator. I'm going to be running this track, and I'm going to be trying to consistently keep those lap times up and staying on the track and not making any mistakes and getting the feel for the car and making any fine-tune adjustments to the car that I might need to make. Again, setups we'll cover a little bit later on, and I'll show you what I've learned about setups. I've talked a little bit about that here today, but we'll talk about that a little bit more a little bit later on, and I'll share with you what I've learned about setups. And again, this is just a guide to help you beginners to begin to do these things. Now, some of you guys that have been doing this a long time, you know some better tips and some better tricks. Put those in the comment box down below because we want to know the better tips and the better tricks. What else? What are you doing? How do you approach a track that you've never known before and have to race that in a league race in 1 week? How do you do it? How do you get up to speed and be competitive? If you have more tips and more tricks to help teach us how to do that, please put them in the comment box. Let us know what your tips and what your tricks are that will help us to get ready for the league races that we are going to get into. In closing, I would like to mention the importance of league racing. League racing is something else that I just wanted to make mention of because you are never going to excel if you do not put yourself out there in a league. And it's just that simple. One of the reasons that I like Sim Racing Alliance is because it doesn't matter what your level of driving is. You can be a brand new driver, or you can be an alien, what we call an alien. And these are the guys that get lap times that nobody knows how they do it. They are just ridiculously fast lap times, and nobody can figure out how they do it. We call them aliens, right? They're Division 1, right? And you can take a look at some of our Division One drivers, and you can see we have some aliens that are with us in the league. But again, it doesn't matter where you are with Sim Racing Alliance. You can come in as a brand new driver, as I did. I was a brand new driver, didn't know anything about any of these things, had to pick up all these things and learn all these things. How did I learn them? I learned them from being in a league. I learned them from trial and error. I learned them from chatting and learning from other drivers who are having the same challenges and doing a lot of the same things. And so I didn't just make this up on my own. This is trial and error. This is learning experience from being in a league. Every league, we have a different track. And during that season, we're in season 6 at SRA right now, I have to stick with the Audi R8 because that's the car that I chose at the beginning. I can't change cars. So that means that during this whole season, that ends in April, I think, again, I have to stick with this car. Now, why is that good? It's good because instead of jumping from car to car to car to car to car to car and never really learning anything, never really getting anywhere, each car has its own setup, and a setup for the Ferrari is going to be different than the setup for the Audi is going to be different from the setup from the BMW is going to be different from the setup for the Porsche. Okay, so again, the engines are in different places, the cars are balanced differently. So this is excellent for me because I am learning the Audi R8. By the end of this season, I will know exactly what it's capable of and what it's not capable of. I'll know exactly when to choose this car for a particular public race and when not to choose it. I'll know exactly how it takes the sausages and where to set the camber and the curbs and where it won't. I will learn everything that I need to know about how to set this car up and how to drive this car properly by the end of this season through trial and error and through doing all of these things and setting these things up. Do you need to be in a league in order to become a better driver? Yes. Yes. The answer to that question is yes. If you do it for no other reason than to become a better driver, do it for yourself. You'll be so glad you did. There's so many people there that you will meet, different characteristics of people, driving with public people that are like-minded like you, that are not interested in just making the race a wreck fest like the public servers, many public servers are. Again, we talk about that all the time. You want to be in a league and you want to be racing against people that are at your level. You know, it doesn't do you any good to race with aliens when they take off of the start line and you never see them again. You can't learn anything from them because you don't see them anymore. You can't follow them because they're gone, right? So you want to stay with guys that are in your level of racing, and you want to see what they're doing to make their lap times faster. You want to be able to at least follow them, get in their draft, and learn from them, allow them to teach you, and you're going to excel. You're going to get better. Also, they have different league. Every race is on a different track, right? So the next week, you're preparing for another track. You're going through these steps. You're learning how to make these cards. You're learning how to make sure that you understand what the statistics are on that track. Where do you need to be lap time wise in order to be competitive to begin with, right? All of these things come into play because you've joined a league and because you're trying to become competitive. If you're not part of a league, you don't have anything to look forward to, you're just getting on public servers, harry-carry, and doing things harry-carry, you are not going to accelerate as fast as if you belong to a league like Sim Racing Alliance. Again, and Sim Racing Alliance is one of North America's best sim racing leagues because it does accept all drivers. You know, some like LFM, if you don't pass the qualification, they make you do a lap test. If you can't do the lap time, you just can't be part of LFM. That's just all there is to it, right? You're not even allowed in, right? So again, the great thing with SRA is they accept everybody and they take you by the hand and they help you to progress. They help you to learn, and everybody is there to help everybody else. We share everything that we know with everybody in our league so that we can become faster drivers. We can become more consistent drivers, safe drivers that are not ruining everybody else's race because we're running around like a chicken with our head cut off, right? So yes, my friends, join a league, and we'd be glad to have you at SRA, Sim Racing Alliance. It is a great league, and it is a young league. They're just getting started. It's only a couple of years old now, and so they're young, but they are moving up, and things are getting better all the time. And so again, because they accept everyone, and because we are there to share that information, and because there is plenty of racing. They've got sprint racings on the weekend, they've got league racing, they've got team racing, they race Assetto Corsa Competizione. They now also race Assetto Corsa, the old Assetto Corsa, which everybody loves, is one of the number one top sims in the world today. Besides Assetto Corsa Competizione, and iRacing, of course, is up there as well. You've got others coming in with like AMS2 and R Factor and that kind of thing. Those are coming up as well. But again, there's plenty to do in this particular league. So if you haven't joined SRA, the question is, why not? Why haven't you joined? Do it. Do it. You'll be glad that you did. I promise you. And again, we'd be glad to race with you and to share things with you. And you'll be able to actually race without being in a wreck fest. Again, which is very, very important, which allows you to hone your skill and your racecraft. So I could go on and on and on. There is so much to know, so much to understand. And even as a young driver myself, these are just things that I have learned that have made me have the ability to be better and to get better. And I want to share that with you so that you also can get better and get faster. So with that being said, everybody, God bless you once again. Thank you so very much for joining us. We appreciate you so very, very much. We will see you next time. And by the way, don't forget this week to read your Bible and to hear what the Creator has to say to you. It won't make you faster on the track necessarily, but it will consistently keep you on track. Until next time.